Hasty and grotesque. Among the far west newspapers have been, or are, the Fair Play Colorado Flame, the Solid Muldoon of Ore, the Tombstone Epitaph for Nevada, the Jimplicate of Texas, the Bazoo of Missouri, Shirt Tail Bend, Whiskey Flat, Puppy Town, Wild Yankee Ranch, Squaw Flat, Rawhide Ranch, Loafer's Ravine, Switch Gulch, Toenail Lake are a few of the names of places in Butte County, California. Perhaps indeed no place or term gives more luxuriant illustrations of the fermentation process I've mentioned than the froth and specks in our Mississippi and Pacific coast regions at the present day. Hasty and grotesque, as some of the names, others are of the more appropriateness and originally unsurpassable. Hog-Eye, Lick-Skillet, Rag Pocket, and Steel Easy are the names of some Texas towns. Slops and pairings of names. In short, Texas is one great windy lunatic, or if you please, a bundle of crooked and stupendous phrases tied together with a throng of rawhide. But in the geography that this gift gives forth its most amazing manifestations, we have all heard some of our exquisite American names, such as Last Chance, Sorrel Horse, Righteous Ridge, Scratch Gravel, Pinch Town, Marrowbones, etc. But now read these from Texas. Lick Skillet, Buck Snort, Nip and Tuck, Jimtown, Rake Pocket, Hog Eye, Fair Play, Seven League, Steel Easy, Possum Trot, Flat Heel, Frog Level, Short Pone, Gourd Neck, Shake Rag, Poverty Slant, Black Ankle, and Gymnet. Not lovely, but honest. The classic tradition belongs to any educational program, but let it not lay hands on the rural scrolls named Greasy Neck, Mud Dig, Mud, Way Back, Big Lump, and All Seeing Eye. Steel Easy Mountain, Towel Face Mountain, Yearling Head, Hogskin, Sodville, Peg Leg Crossing, Smuggler's Gap, Six Shooter Draw, and the creeks of Spare Rib, Towash, Troublesome, Walleye, Squabble, Skin Out, and Gun Sight, so named either because the Indian shot in front sight with a gun with his teamster and throwing a bead on him, or because in the vicinity of the hill and the gap line up like sights of a gun. These may not be lovely names, but they are honest. How Louse Creek was named. Ain't you ever heard how Louse Creek got its name? Inquires Rawhot Rollins. Well, I ain't no historian, but I happen to savvy this incident. The feller that Christians it ain't like a lot of old timers that consider it an honor to have streams in town named after him. His first name's Pete, and he still lives in Judith, but I ain't gonna no further exceptin' to say that he's a large, dark-complected feller, and he's mighty friendly with Pat O'Hara, and his hangout is in town at Geyser. When I knowed him, he's first a cowpuncher. From looks you'd say he didn't have nothing under his hat but hair, but what he knows about cows is a gift. Right now he's got a nice little bunch raging up the foothills. There's a lot of talk about the way he gets a start. You can believe it or not, suit yourself, but I think it's his winning way among cows. He could come down near talking to a cow out of her calf. Some say they've seen cows following his saddle hoss across the prairie. One old cowman says he's seen that all right, but looking through glasses, there's a rope between the calf and Pete's saddle horn. But going back to the naming of Louse Creek, it's one spring roundup back in the early '80s. We was out in a circle, and me and Pete riding together. Mine's a center fire saddle, and dropped back and straightened the blanket and set on it. I ain't but a few minutes behind him, but the next I see of Pete is on the bank of the creek, which didn't have no name then. He's off his hoss, and he's stripped his shirt off, with one boulder on the ground and another about the same size in his hand, and he's pounding the seams of his shirt. He's so busy he don't hear me when I ride up, and he's cussing and swearing to himself. I hear him mutter, "I'm damned if I don't get some of this big ones." Well, from this day on, the stream was known as Louse Creek. Bizarre and original names of Appalachia. The qualities of the raw backwoodsman are printed from untouched natives in the names he has left upon the map. His literalness shows in Black Rock, Standing Stone, Sharp Top, 20 Mile, Naked Place, The Pockets, Tumbling Creek, and in the endless designations taken from trees, plants, minerals, or animals noticed on the spot. Incidents of his lonely life are signalized in Dusk Camp Run, Mad Sheep Mountain, Dog Slaughter Creek, Drowning Creek, Burnt Cabin Branch, Broken Leg, Rado, Burnt Pone, Sandy Mush, and 100 others. His contentious spirit blazes forth in Fighting Creek, Shooting Creek, Gouge Eye, Vengeance, Four Killer, and Disputanta. A sardonic humor, sometimes smudged with that touch of grossness, is in our English language. Characterizes many of the backwoods place names. In the mountains of Old Virginia, we have dry tripe settlements, the Jerkemtites, and West Virginia are Taken Creek, Get and Run, Seldom Seen Hollow, Odd, Buster Knob, Shabby Room, and Stretch Your Neck. North Carolina has its Shoebird Mountain, Big Bugaboo Creek, Weary Hut, Frog Level, Shake a Rag, and Chunky Gal. In eastern Tennessee are No Time Settlements, No Business Knob, with creeks known as Big Soak, Suey, Go Forth, and How Come You. And Georgia has produced Scataway, Two Nye, Long Nose, Dog Down, Silly Cook, Turkey Trot, Broke Jug Creek, and Tiered Breeches Ridge. Rip, Shin Thicket, Dog Hobble Ridge and Rough Farm, Bear Wallow, Woolly Ridge, Roaring Folk, Huggins Hell, Devil's Race Path, his den, his courthouse, and other playgrounds of Old Nick, they too were well and fitly named. Circuitous styles of expression. The propensity to approach a meaning not directly and squarely, but by circuitous styles of expression, seems indeed born a quality of the common people everywhere, evidenced by nicknames, and the invertebrate determination of the masses to bestow subtitles, sometimes ridiculous and sometimes very apt. Among the rank and file, both armies, it was very general to speak of the different states they come from in their slang names. Those from Maine were called Foxes, New Hampshire, Granite Boys, Massachusetts, Bay Staters, Vermont, Green Mountain Boys, Rhode Island, Gunflints, Connecticut, Wooden Nutmegs, New York, Knickerbockers, New Jersey, Clam Catchers, Pennsylvania, Loggerheads, Delaware, Muskrats, Maryland, Claw Thumpers, Virginia, Beagles, North Carolina, Tarboilers, South Carolina, Weasels, Georgia, Buzzards, Louisiana, Creoles, Alabama, Lizards, Kentucky, Corncrackers, Ohio, Buckeyes, Michigan, Wolverines, Indiana, Hoosiers, Illinois, Suckers, Missouri, Pukes, Mississippi, Tadpoles, Florida, Fly Up the Creeks, Wisconsin, Badgers, Iowa, Hawkeyes, Oregon, Hardcases. Illinois as it was. A smart sprinkling of the inhabitants of Illinois are from New England, a heap from Kentucky, and the balance are John Bulls, Paddies, Pukes, Wolverines, Snags, Hoosiers, Griddle Greasers, Buckeyes, Corncrackers, Potstoppers, Hardheads, Hawkeyes, Rackensacks, Lindsay Wolseys, Greenhorns, Whigs, Conservatives, Canada Patriots, Loafers, Masons, Anti-Masons, Mormons, and some few are the Jerseys. The Loafers are perfectly peaceable. The Mormons and politicians are wrathy and fond of hunting, cockfighting, and getting into trouble in order to get out again.